You can take anything, sexism, racism, misogyny, homophobia, whatever, the war, and if you really get into it and study it and learn about it and the history of it and everything's connected. There'd be no climate crisis if it wasn't for racism.
How do you get?
Yes, welcome back. We have talked about Greta Thunberg recently. I didn't know that racism, sexism, homophobia all cause climate change. After watching this show, I realized something I have never heard. I don't know if you have ever heard this. According to this article from the New York Post,
oh, the climate crisis. The climate's not natural. It's not like the glaciers. You're causing it. How are you causing that? Well, Jane Fonda has thought a lot about that topic, and here's her conclusion.
If there were no racism, there'd be no climate crisis. If there was no misogyny, there'd be no climate crisis. It's part of a mindset. It's the mindset that looks at a woman and says, nice.
In other words, my ex-husband's caused climate change. In addition to everything else. It's all about her. So great.
if there is no racism, we will have no climate crisis. World Economic Forum will actually have nothing to talk about. But now that racism will never stop, it means this will continue.
Comment vous réagissez par rapport à toutes ces théories du complot?
No, of course, I'm very sad.
Ça me rend très triste.
You will eat the bugs and be happy.
Something that you've always had, or do you feel like you have that because you're in the spotlight? You have the opportunity?
For me, it was learning about the Vietnam War. And when I really understood what that was about, I couldn't do anything except try to join the movement and to stop it.
And that was where it started, because you're pretty active even after that.
Well, you know, you can take anything, sexism, racism, misogyny, homophobia, whatever, the war, and if you really get into it and study it and learn about it and the history of it and everything's connected. There'd be no climate crisis if it wasn't for racism.
How do you get to that? Tell me.
Where would they put the Where would they put the poison and the pollution? They're not going to put it in Bel Air. They've got to find some place where poor people or indigenous people or people of color.
After watching this show, I realized something I have never heard. I don't know if you have ever heard this. According to this article from the New York Post, actress Jane Fonda, 85, blamed the climate crisis on racism during an interview on the Kelly Clarkson Show to promote their new movie and reflect on what motivated them to get involved in social activism. For me, it was learning about the Vietnam War, Fonda said, and when I really understood what that was about, I could not do anything except try to join the movement to stop it. Fonda was given the infamous nickname Hanno Jane after posing atop an anti-aircraft gun during her 1972 visit to North Vietnam. Clarkson asked Fonda how she branched out to other areas of activism, to which the actress suggested it wasn't much of a stretch. Where you can't take anything, sexism, racism, misogyny, homophobia, whatever the war. The actress said if you really get into it and study it and learn about it and the history of it and everything connected, there will be no climate crisis if this wasn't for racism. Moreno asked Fonda for an explanation, to which she replied, where would they put the poison and the pollution? They are not gonna put it in Bel Air. They have got to find some places where poor people or indigenous people or people of color are living, put it there. They can't fight back, and that's why a big part of the climate movement now has to do with climate justice. Founder climate activism made headlines in October 2019 when she was one of the 16 people arrested on the Capitol step at the Washington, D.C. climate change rally. The actress was charged with crowding obstruction.
I've been a climate activist for a long time, and you know, I make the individual lifestyle choices. I drive an electric car, I recycle, I eat less meat, I get rid of plastic and so forth. But I'm aware of the fact that individual choices like that can't be brought to scale fast enough to get us where we need to be. So I was asking myself, well, what can I do more? And Greta Thunberg, the young Swedish student who went on the school strike every Friday.
Yes, I always maintain my stand. You cannot stop racism if you keep talking about it. Stopping racism is not even bringing up on a conversations like this. If she keep on spreading this message that climate is done by this, by that, at the end of the day, it's like a song. Somebody said on a comment section on a video I did 3 weeks ago, I should stop doing videos on topics relating to racism. That was true. But I cannot stop. I need to create an awareness, share some of the videos around you so you can understand what is going on. There are things happening in around you that sometimes you might not be lucky enough to see. The mainstream media will not show you. I will do investigations to bring those videos to you. Reasons, there are topics people always struggle to push me not to cover. That is how racism can be combated, by stopping not to talk about it. When you go on a national show like this, bringing up racism, sexism, homophobia is called totally insane. Taking a look at this video, you realize she made it clear that Greta Thunberg inspired her, to join this activism. She has made it clear that racism is the highest problem that is causing climate change. I don't know how true is this, because she quoted an example when
For racism.
How do you get to that? Tell me.
Where would they put the Where would they put the poison and the pollution? They're not going to put it in Bel Air. That's why a big part of the climate movement now has to do with climate justice.
How many times did you rehearse your arrest at the German coal mine? How many times did you rehearse it? Because it looked staged. Is it true? How many times did you rehearse your arrest?
Greta, it's getting quite cold in Davos. When can I expect some global warming?
Greta, would you say you're a child actor? Are you a child actor or an expert? How would you describe yourself? Greta, who was filming your arrest in Germany? Because it looked like you did that in several takes, didn't you? You were posing with the police.
It's very likely that the German police and RWE, a fossil fuel company, would stage an arrest.
Well, how many times were you arrested? Because
yeah, it's not led us anywhere specifically good, has it? We can only look at where we're headed, and these are the people who are in charge, the people who own the wealth and who are investing in fossil fuels, etc. So, and yet they are the ones we expect to solve the climate.